What's up, guys? I got a doozy for you today. Welcome. If you don't know, it's Rob Bill Jr., also known as the Uncommon Dad, if we go by titles, given names. Uncommon, the Dad Work Podcast. I don't know what episode that is. We'll just call it an episode. And I'm bringing you something that was unexpected today. I didn't plan to do this, but I have to bring it to you because I'm being called to bring it to you right now. And when I first started this podcast, I had the privilege of interviewing one of my mentor, someone I look up to, Mr. Elliot Hulse. And we were talking about what is going on in society, what is happening in society. There seems to be such a breakdown. There seems to be such a crisis specifically coming up for men and boys and families and our daughters, our children, in our marriages. And I talked about how I really do my best to adhere to what's called Hanlon's razor, to not attribute to malice that which can be attributed to stupidity. And I was like, I really think that what's going on is we're just dumb. I'm just going to offer that up. We're just dumb. We just made dumb decisions. And he said, no, this was intentional. And I want to talk to you about why today, because I think he's right. And I'm going to read you an article that's going to maybe give you a little bit more evidence on why he's right. And then I may go through some TikToks and Instagrams with you today as well, and just look at, okay, well, what are young women coming out of public schools and the university system, like, what do they believe in? This is a problem. One of the biggest problems that I believe that we face, and the CDC has verified this, is that our kids inherit 80% of our lifestyle habits. It's how we show up every single day and how we don't show up. The food that we eat, whether or not we tolerate being overweight or not, we tolerate poor health or not, our activity levels, our physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health, they inherit that. The things that we do every single day, how we manage our emotions, how we manage our stress, or we bottle it up, we escape it through doom scrolling, through pornography. It doesn't matter whether they see this, you doing this or not, they will pick it up, or you're escaping it through tasty foods. You have a caffeine consumption addiction and problem. You rely on alcohol or drugs. You have a great relationship with your wife, or you have a terrible relationship with your wife. You're able to repair with your wife really quickly, or you run from it and you just let disagreements fester until they explode out of you. You guys are static shocking each other back and forth. Whether you fight for your marriage or you allow yourself to fall into complacence, which eventually leads to divorce or just an unhappy marriage that they watch their entire lives. Your kids inherit 80% of your lifestyle habits, whether you like it or not, whether they're going to fight with everything they have to get away from it or not. It is deeply embedded into their nervous system. From the ages of 0 to 7, they live in delta and theta brainwaves, which is theta especially is the brainwave of hypnosis. And forgive me if I misspoke there. It's really theta brainwave that they live in. And I'll make sure I get stuff right for you. That is the brainwave of hypnosis. Everything that they see, everything you say to them is real. It gets planted in there, becomes the blueprint, the archetype around which they will build the rest of their life. Why is fatherhood important? Well, guys, there's nothing more important once you hear that than the way that you show up for and in front of your wife and your children, because they are soaking in all of it. The life that you tolerate, the relationship with your wife that you tolerate, the fathering that you tolerate is what your sons will emulate, your daughter will emulate, but also what she will tolerate in other men that come into her life. Either you're giving them the example that you want or not. And guys, men, we are in trouble. We're in trouble. Men lead in 14 out of the 15 leading causes of death, and most of these are lifestyle related. Heart attacks, cancers, high blood pressure that leads to heart attack and stroke. I could go down the whole list for you. 50 people die every single day in workplace accidents, 95% of which are men. Well, why? Well, we tend to work in the death professions, the more risky professions, and we should. And yet, still 95% of those 150 that are dying every single day are men. Well, also, 150 people are dying on the job site every day. That's crazy, but they're men. And here's another statistic. We have skyrocketing rates of anxiety and depression in the world, especially during COVID. But women are 3/4 of the people who are diagnosed with depression anxiety, mental health disorders. Those diagnostic criteria are really formed around how men display that, or not men, how women display that, though. They're not the diagnostic criteria really reflective of what men experience. Men experience depression and anxiety far different. It tends to come out in frustration, anger, a lack of meaning and drive, which people just shrug off as like fragile masculinity. What do you need? You need me to pat you on the head and say, good job, buddy? But they also come out in escapism through doom scrolling on your phone and alcoholism. 75% of the people who commit suicide are men. Makes me wonder about the 150 people that are dying on the job site. Because if you got a good life insurance policy, and I know men, I've had men inside my brotherhood who have told me I've stood on that roof and you can make it look good. I have had men who have been driving the car thinking about like, well, that pole looks really good right now. Maybe there's a possibility that a large portion of those quote unquote accidental deaths are suicides, but they did the thing in order to make sure that their family got the money. This is a problem. There's 39,000 men a year leaving their families. 39,000. And even though men, fathers especially, guys, we've 3x the amount of time that we dedicate to caring for our children compared to dads in 1965. Even though we've 3x'd that amount of time, almost half of dads say that they don't get enough time with their kids. It's 46% compared to 23% of moms. Only 39% of dads, 40% of dads feel like they're doing a good enough job as a dad. The rest of them, 60%, feel like, well, I'm not doing a good enough job as a dad. Over half of dads feel like it's difficult to balance work and family. 64% of dads say that the demands for their job interfere with their family or personal time. And I've built my life around making sure that I'm deeply present for my kids. That's why I run this business. The number of men with any close friends at all has dropped. The number of men with no close friends has gone up from 3% in 1990 to 15% nowadays. And 42% of men report that they feel alone and or isolated. And I can speak for myself. There have been times, even though things are good, where I feel totally alone, even though I'm surrounded by my family, the ones that I love. This is a problem. One, because many dads are being stolen from their families. But two, because many dads mentally and emotionally are being stolen from their families, because when we're carrying this, we cannot be fully present with our wife and with our children. And our children need that, because our children, statistically speaking, and you can know just by looking at children, perform better in all measures, not just with a dad who's present in the house, but with a deeply present and engaged father, a dad who's engaged with them every single day. And we can't do that when we're carrying this silent burden. Children who feel closeness with their father are twice as likely as those who don't to enter college and find stable employment after high school. 75% likely to have a kid as teenagers. 80% less likely to spend time in jail. Half as likely to experience depression and anxiety. If you're a man of faith, regardless of what that faith is. I'm going to say Catholic, Christian. We love that. Jewish too, but whatever your faith is. Now, this doesn't include just being a yogi and being a hippie. But that used to be me. I still carry those principles, those practices, but there's something a lot bigger. Your kids are 70% likely to carry your spiritual beliefs into adulthood. And when the lights go out and life gets hard and there's nowhere else to turn, what do they have then? They can get down on their knees and appeal to the highest of highs. But they don't get that if you don't have. But men increasingly are struggling. We feel like we're not cutting it as fathers. We feel alone. We feel depressed. We feel anxious, but we bury it underneath everything under the sun. On the high end, 6 out of 10 people feel unhappy, unfulfilled in their marriage. On the low end, it's 14%. That's way too much for me. Or that 20% of people polled feel trapped in their marriages. 41% of marriages end in divorce. 60% of second marriages. 73% of third marriages. This is a problem. And social isolation, whether you are alone, you don't have close friends, you're not connected to your wife in your marriage, or you feel like you're alone, that social isolation weakens your immune system, increases the risk of high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, inflammation, Alzheimer's, sleep disruption, all of which contribute to us leading in 14 out of the 15 leading causes of death of people in the United States. This is a problem, guys. And this is a problem because however you are, whoever you are, the life that you're leading is what your kids are going to inherit. It's the legacy that they're going to carry forward. And so we owe it to them to do everything in our power to reach Optimal health, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, relationally, to create the optimal marriage that we are capable of. It will never be perfect, but we want to get it right. We owe it to them to do that because that's what they are destined to repeat. That's the prophecy for them. I asked Elliot over a year and a half ago. Now, let me grab some water here. Thirsty. Why is all this happening, Elliot? What is happening? Why are things crumbling? He said to me, they did it on purpose. I'm going to read you an article. This article is by Mallory Millett. We're going to discuss it, but socialism. Oh, you see where we're going right now. Socialism is a philosophy of failure, the creed of ignorance, and the gospel of envy. Its inherent virtue is the equal sharing of misery. Winston Churchill wrote this over a century ago. During my junior year in high school, the nuns asked about our plans for after we graduated. This is Mallory speaking, not me, Rob. When I said I was going to attend state university, I noticed their disappointment. I asked my favorite nun, why? She answered, that means you'll leave 4 years later a communist and an atheist. What a giggle we girls had over that. How ridiculously unsophisticated these nuns are, we thought. And then I went to university and 4 years later walked out a communist and an atheist, just as my sister Katie had 6 years before me. And sometime later, I was a young divorcee with a small child. At the urging of my sister, I relocated to New York City after spending years married to an American executive stationed in Southeast Asia. The marriage over, I was making a new life for my daughter and me. Katie said, come to New York. We're making revolution. Some of us are starting the National Organization of Women, and you can be a part of it. I hadn't seen her for years, although she had tormented me when we were youngsters. Those memories were faint after my Asian traumas and the breakup of my marriage. I foolishly mistook her sanctuary in a storm. With so much time and distance between us, I had forgotten her emotional instability. And so my period began. My period as an unwitting witness to history. I stayed with Kate and her lovable Japanese husband, Fumio, in a dilapidated loft on the Bowery as she finished her first book, a PhD thesis for Columbia University called Sexual Politics. It was 1969. He invited me to join her for a gathering at the home of her friend Leela Karp. They called the assemblage, a consciousness-raising group, a typical communist exercise, something practiced in Maoist China. We gathered at a large table as the chairperson opened the meeting with a back-and-forth recitation, like a litany, a type of prayer done in Catholic Church. But now was Marxism, the church of the left, mimicking religious practice. Why are we here today? She asked. To make revolution, they answered. What kind of revolution? She replied. The cultural revolution, they chanted. And how do we make cultural revolution? She demanded. By destroying the American family, they answered. How do we destroy the family? She came back. By destroying the American patriarch, they cried exuberantly. And how do we destroy the American patriarch? She replied. By taking away his power. And how do we do that? By destroying monogamy, they shouted. And how can we destroy monogamy? And their answer left me dumbstruck, breathless, disbelieving my ears. Was I on planet Earth? Who were these people? By promoting promiscuity, eroticism, prostitution, and homosexuality, they resounded. Ooh, and maybe you're listening to this right now, you're feeling something. Hold that, drop it in the comments. What are you feeling right now as you're listening to this? They proceeded with a long discussion on how to advance these goals by establishing the National Organization of Women. It was clear they desired nothing less than the utter deconstruction of Western society. The upshot was that the only way to do this was to invade every American institution, as they quoted. Everyone must be permeated with the revolution. The media, the educational system, universities, high schools, K through 12, school boards, etc. And then the judiciary, the legislatures, the executive branches, even the library system. It fell on my ears as a ludicrous scheme, as if they were a band of highly imaginative children planning a Brinks robbery, a lark, trumped up on a snowy night amongst a group of spoiled brats over booze and hashish. To me, this sounded silly. I was enduring culture shock after having been cut off from my homeland. living in third world countries for years with not one trip back to the United States. I was one of those people who, upon returning to American soil, fell out of the plane blubbering with ecstasy at being home in the USA. I knelt on the ground, covering it with kisses. I had learned just exactly how delicious was the land of my birth and didn't care what anyone thought because they just hadn't seen what I had or been where I had been. I had seen factory workers and sex slaves chained to walls. How could they know? Asia is beyond our ken, as they say, utterly inscrutable, and a kind of hell I never intended to revisit. I lived there, not junketed, not visited like sweet little tourists. I'd conducted households and tried to raise a child. I had outgrown the communism of my university days and was clumsily groping my way back to God. How could 12 American women, who were the most respectable types imaginable, clean, and privileged graduates of esteemed institutions, Columbia, Radcliffe, Smith, Wellesley, Vassar. The uncle of one was Secretary of War under Franklin Roosevelt. How could they plot such a thing? Most had advanced degrees and appeared cogent, bright, reasonable, and good. How did these people rationally believe they could succeed with such vicious grandiosity? And why? I dismissed it as academic lounge chair, as air castle building. I continued with my life in New York while my sister became famous, publishing her books featured on the cover of Time magazine. Time called her the Karl Marx of the women's movement. This was because her book laid out a course in Marxism 101 for women. Her thesis, the family is a den of slavery with the man as the bourgeois and the women and children as the proletariat. The only hope for women's liberation, communism's favorite word for leading minions into inextricable slavery. Liberation, much like collective, please run from it. Run for your life, was this new women's movement. Her books captivated the academic classes, and soon women's studies courses were installed in colleges in a steady wave across the nation, with Kate Millett books as required reading. Now I'm going to pause here because I, myself, you may not believe it, but I sat in women's studies classrooms in college as I was getting my history degree, going to be certified as a secondary educator, at which I can teach high school history and government, social studies, all of it right now, and I can teach at the middle school level. And I thought, yeah, women's studies, this is really cool. Let me do this. And I got in those classrooms and something felt so wrong when I sat in the first lecture hall and my professor, a woman who dressed like Al Borland, had everyone look around the room and really point out the few of us men that were in there and pointed us out and said, these are the problem. I felt deep within myself something was so wrong at that moment, and I walked out of that. And I was like, women's studies is not what I thought it was. Coming back to this article, imagine this. Girl of 17 or 18 at the kitchen's table with mom studying the syllabus for her first year of college, and there's a class called Women's Studies. This could be interesting, says mom. Maybe you could get something out of this. I, Rob Bill Jr., fell into this trap. It seems innocuous. How could she suspect this is a class in which her innocent daughter, and nowadays 2025 our boys, will be taught that her father, that men are the villain, and her mother is a fool who allowed a man to enslave her into barbaric practices like monogamy and family life and motherhood, which is a waste of her talents. And I'll stop here because there is nothing more powerful and more meaningful that a woman can do than bring a child into the world. It's an absolute miracle. It is the biggest miracle in existence. And we're seeing just how that miracle has been twisted and inverted. And what is evil? Evil is an inversion of what is miraculous, of what is good, and good is a conjunction for God. Back to the reading. She mustn't follow in her mother's footsteps. I'll say for myself, boys must not follow in their father's footsteps, in the footsteps of the toxic masculine that came before them. That would be submitting to life as a mindless drone for some domineering man, the oppressor, who is mesmerized with her tricks and romantic love. Never be lured in this chicanery, she will be taught. Although men are no damned good, she should use them for her own orgasmic gratification, sleep with as many men as possible in order to keep herself unattached and free. There's hardly a 17-year-old girl without a grudge from high school against Jimmy or Jason who broke her heart. Boys are learning too. They can be careless during high school. That torment of courting dances for both sexes, and we'll stop here because look at OnlyFans. 20% of women in their 20s have an OnlyFans account. You don't want that for your daughter. And boys, men, are falling into, what is his name? Andrew Tate. This kind of absolutely wounded masculine that uses women. And all of this is not masculinity. This is shadow masculinity. This comes from what we're reading about right now. You have to take this seriously. Coming back, by the time women's studies professors finish with your daughter, nowadays your sons, she will be a shell of an innocent girl, the one that you knew, who's soon convinced that although she should be flopping down with every boy she fancies, she should not by any means get pregnant. And so, as a practitioner of promiscuity, she becomes a wizard of prevention techniques, especially abortion. Which, here's a silly fact, but a stark fact. Maybe you're going to turn this podcast off because you reject this. But I reject that you reject it. What is abortion? It's a murder of an infant within the womb. If you look at people who were children of rape, I've seen adults talking about this, and they'll look you straight in the eyes and say, do I not deserve to exist? Do I not deserve to be here? I'm going to get a little Christian on you, but the devil, which Satan is the adversary, that's the translation of it, if you want to think of it that way. Adversary, evil is inversion. Well, how could we prevent the Christ coming back again? How could we prevent anyone coming forward of spiritual power again? Well, we can get them in the womb now. We don't even have to wait for them to be born. Okay, back to it. I'll get off my soapbox. The goal of women's liberation is to wear each female down to losing all empathy for boys, babies. The tenderest aspects of her soul are roughened into a rock pile of cynicism where she will think nothing of murdering her baby in the warm protective nest of her little girl womb. She will be taught that she, in order to free herself, must become an outlaw. This is only reasonable because all Western law, since Magna Carta and even before, is a concoction of the evil white man whose true purpose is to press her into slavery. Be an outlaw, be a rebel, be defiant. Think Madonna, Lady Gaga, Lois Lerner, Elizabeth Warren, Charlie XCX. All women are prostitutes, she'll be told. You're either really smart and use sex by being promiscuous for your own pleasures and development as a free and full human being just like men, or you can be a prostitutional or a professional prostitute, a viable business for women. Look at this right now, OnlyFans, which is empowering. Oh, you go, girl. Look at all that money you're making. Or you can be duped like your mother and prostitute yourself to one man exclusively, whereby you fall under the heavy thumb of the oppressor. All wives are just one-man whores. She is to be heartless in this. No sentimental stuff about courting. No empathy for either boy or baby. She has a life to live, and no one is to get in her way. And if the boy or man doesn't get it, then no sex for him. Making love becomes just having sex. We remove the depth of it, the relationship, the connection. I'm not having sex with any jerk who doesn't believe I can kill his son or my daughter at my whim. He has no say in it because it's my body, it's my choice. Strange logic. As who has ever heard of a body with 2 heads, 2 hearts, 4 arms, and 4 feet, baby in the womb? There's no end to the absurdities your young girl will be convinced to swallow. I plan to leap from guy to guy as much as I please, and no one can stop me because I'm liberated. In other words, these people will turn your daughter into a slut with my sister's books as instruction manuals. A slut is good work. Be proud of it. She'll be telling you, I'm probably never getting married, and if I do, it will be after I've established my career, which nowadays means never. And I will stop for a second because my wife and I both thought we would never get married. I was disillusioned by marriage, but also she was disillusioned by marriage and probably by the patriarchy. Never wanted kids because who would want to bring kids into the world like this? I don't need no man, she would say to me all the time. And she always energetically had one foot out the door. Keep my own name and I don't really want kids. They're such a bother and only get in the way, they'll tell her. Don't let any guy degrade you by allowing him to open doors for you. To be called a lady is an insult. Chivalry is a means of ownership. And guys, chivalry, a code of chivalry, is one of the things that draws out our fullest potential here. And it's one of the things that will keep the fire in your wife's heart burning. The women, our young women, have been indoctrinated and are still being indoctrinated against this. And our boys are also being indoctrinated against this, and it needs to stop. Thus, females who are fundamentally the arbiters of society go on to harden their young men with such pillow talk in the same way they've been hardened because, wow, man, I've got to get laid. She won't do it if I don't agree to let her kill the kid. Consider the eternal paradigm. Only after Eve convinced Adam to eat the fruit did mankind fall. Man does anything to make woman happy, even if it's in defiance of God. There's power for you. Without a decent womankind, mankind is lost. As Mae West said, when women go wrong, men go right after them because men serve our women. We want to delight them. We want nothing more than that. And Adam, I think that the true sin wasn't even just eating the apple, but that he tried to hide it in shame. And this is what most men are doing right now. Think about it. Where are you hiding in your life? Creates nothing but problems for you, for your wife, and for your kids. I've known women who fell for this creed in their youth, who now in their 50s and 60s cry themselves to sleep decades of countless nights grieving for children they'll never have, and the ones they coldly murdered because they were protecting the empty, loveless futures they now live with no way of going back. Where are my children? Where are my grandchildren? They cry to me. Your sister's books destroyed my life, I've heard numerous times. She was happily married with 4 kids after she read those books, walked out on a bewildered man and didn't look back. That man fell into despairing rack and ruin. Children were stunted, set off their tracks, deeply harmed. The family profoundly dislocated, and there was no putting Humpty Dumpty back together again. Throughout the same time these women were invading our institutions, the character of the American woman transformed drastically. How did these liberated women fall into such an indistinguishable pile of mush? They look exactly the same, with few individuating characteristics, and their voices sound identical. The character of the American woman has been distorted by this pernicious movement. From where did this foul-mouthed, tattooed, outlaw creature who murders her baby without blinking an eye and goes partying without conscience or remorse come, and in such a short little phase in history? Never before have we heard so many women murdering their children. Casey Anthony killing her little Kaylee and partying hardy for weeks. Susan Smith driving her beautiful little boys into a lake, leaving them strapped in the water to die torturous deaths. That woman who drowned her 5 children in the bathtub. Hey, if I can kill my baby at 6 months gestation, why not 6 months post-birth? Let's call it late-term abortion. And guys, this is happening right now. There are states debating this. There are people bringing this to legislatures, debating being able to abort a child after birth or as close to birth as possible. Mallory, again, I insist that women always have been the arbiters of society. And when those women, Lila Carp's table in Greenwich Village, set their minds to destroying the American family by talking young women into being outlaws, perpetrators of infanticide and haters of Western law, men, and marriage, they accomplished exactly what they intended. The desire, I witnessed it at subsequent meetings till I got pretty sick of their unbridled hatred, was to tear American society apart, along with the family and the patriarchal slave master, the American husband. We're also busy congratulating each other because Ronald Reagan won the Cold War without firing a shot, that we've entirely missed the bare truth, which is that Mao, with his little red book, and the Soviets, won the Cold War without firing a shot by taking over our women, our young, and the minds of everyone tutored by Noam Chomsky in the textbooks of Howard Zinn. Postgraduate junior is Peter Pan trapped in the newer Neverland of moms. She's divorced now, basement. How many boys? How many men are living with their parents until 30 and 40? How many people cannot meet decent couples to couple with to get married to? Gina Hoff Summers says, moms and dads, be afraid for your sons. There's a war on men that started a long time ago in gender studies classrooms and in women's advocacy groups eager to believe that men are toxic. Many educated women in the U.S. have drunk from the gender feminist Kool-Aid. Girls at Yale, Harvard, Swarthmore, see themselves as oppressed. This is madness. If you see something traitorous in this, a betrayal of my sister, I've come to identify with such people as Svetlana Stalin or Juanita Castro, coming out to speak plainly about a particularly harmful member of my family. Loyalty can be highly destructive. What about Muslims who refuse to speak out right now? I was one of the silent, but at last I'm spilling the beans. Girls have been up to something for years, and it's really not good. It's evil. We should be sick to our souls over it. I know I am. And so mass destruction, the inevitable outcome of all socialist communist experiments, leaves behind its signature trail of wreckage. So much grace and femininity and beauty lost, so many ruined lives. That's the end of the article. And I used to see this reel on Instagram. I haven't seen it in a while, but somebody asked, what happened? How did we end up here? And the man, well, he pointed out, peak society was maybe in the Victorian era. There was courtship, there was chivalry, there was ritual, there was reverence for the feminine, by the masculine especially. Yeah, we ran society, men. We ran it. And then one day our women were like, wow, I would really like to have a taste of that. And as men who we live to serve our women, we said, yeah, babe, come on up here. Sit in the throne with me. Let's give it a shot. Enjoy yourself. And we gave them everything that we had. We stepped out. We abdicated the throne until they were turned against us. We started to believe that, yes, we, by our very nature as men, are toxic. And we lost our purpose, which was to protect, to provide, to steward our wives and our children. We said, well, our wives can do this now. We as men, we need this. And so we sit on our couches, swiping on our phones, playing video games, watching other men playing football, living at their edge on TV, watching other men fuck other women in pornography without the will to actually live at our edge, make love to our own woman, make memories with our own children ourselves. We're in trouble. This is common. This is normal. This is civilization. If this is common, if this is normal, if this is civilization, if this is what's ordinary, I want nothing to do with it. I don't want my kids to live in this world. And they're going to live in this world because, well, there's a much bigger population of people who buy into all of this nonsense or who unconsciously just tolerate it. We live in an era of unprecedented speed, access to technology. We're not equipped for this. Unless we equip ourselves, we equip our children for this through a depth of practice, actually ingraining the traits, the skills that we need to show up as pillars of strength and courage, mastery, honor, chivalry, courtship, patience, presence, empathy, deep connection, and leadership. With the balls to stand up and say no, and to lead our wife, to lead our children. To lead our children is to be the steward, it's to be the Aragorn, and we'll talk about Aragorn in the next episode. To voluntarily face the failures of our fathers, to bear our burden, to face our dragons, to face our demons, lest they end up raising our children, so that our children don't have to bear them, and to give our children the capacity and the ability to develop the skills necessary so that they can bear their own ring to Mordor, because they're going to have to. They're going to have to do their own work in this life. We are here as stewards for our children. If we do this thing consciously, we have to do it consciously. We have to face the curses of our fathers, the wounds of our mothers. We have to heal this stuff. This cannot continue. The society that we live in cannot continue. It will not be good for our kids unless we change it as fathers. Guys, listening to this now, we have to learn how to actually lead the dance of our marriage again. That marriage is a sacred union. It's not something you can just get out of. And that there is a role that we must inhabit as the masculine, as the leader, inviting our wife to this dance, spinning her, loving her, courting her, and learning how to fill the heart of a woman. She's not another bro. Even though they have fought so hard to be just like men, she will not receive love in the same way that you would receive it. Women, they need to be admired, acknowledged. She needs to be taken on your grand adventure, not what do you want to do, honey? She needs to know that you will court her until the end of the earth, that you will fight the dragon for her. She needs to know that she's seen. You're beautiful, baby. She needs to know that she's heard, that you can take everything that she can throw at you, because women are emotional processors, without saying, whoa, you're too much, or trying to fix it. You need to be able to receive it, just like the old nights when you used to stay up talking with her on the phone until 3 a.m, until you had to start work the next day, or maybe you laid in bed together and you just looked into her eyes and talked because you wanted to know the depths of her soul. A woman needs to be heard, and men need the capacity to do that. You cannot love your woman like a man. And more than that, she needs to know that she's held. She's safe. You will catch her. And this isn't just physically safe, like you're not going to beat her up. You already know that. You're not that dumb coming here. But that she's mentally, emotionally, spiritually, relationally safe. She needs that from you. She's not a man. You have to learn how to treat her like a woman. We have to take this stuff back, guys. We got to do it. Anyway, I wonder if I can play something for you here. Here we go. So let's just go through one TikTok here. Let's go through it. We'll go through these things too. Sex work. Sex work isn't empowering. It doesn't. It's not flawed from its inception. God created Eve because man, it was not good for man to be alone. He created Eve, helpmeet, helper that was equal to him, not above him, not below him, that was strong where he was weak. Eve, a complementary opposite. There's nothing degrading about that. This is the origin of marriage. In marriage, we've profaned. That's to remove the sacred. We've profaned marriage to the point where it's just this piece of paper, it's just this contract, and I can get out of it. But marriage is a sacred union. Two people coming together, two eyes. There are no eyes in we, there are two of them that come together into a capital W, we. Two people that contribute something to the whole, that they may create something that is bigger than either one of them could do on their own, unimaginably so. You watch one person dance, it's cool. You watch a couple come together and dance on the dance floor, it's mesmerizing. And the man is always the one who leads. The woman is the one who reciprocates. We initiate. She reciprocates. We show her off. She's beautiful. We create something bigger than ourselves. And only by doing that, coming into that sacred union, foregoing, letting go of independence, letting go of codependence. You do this for me and I'll do this for you. We come to it 100% all in. We have to come to marriage. Marriage is not a 50-50. It's an I'm all in 100%. I will show up for you even when I don't want to, even when you're not loving me the way that I want to be loved selfishly. When we do that, we create something far bigger than we could ever imagine. Something that can elicit the fullest potential in each other, because marriage is resistance. We're complementary opposites. We push into each other. It's uncomfortable. It's going to be hard. Marriage is hard. Like going to the gym. You love putting more weight on the bar. Even though you hate it, you relish the burn. And you know you get stronger when you lift that weight. You go one rep from failure. You come back the next week and you're stronger. This is what marriage is. It is meant. It's a transformation technology to extract our fullest potential, not for our selfish purposes, though, but so that we may draw out the fullest potential in our children. You tell me that marriage is antiquated. I reject that. She's one of the little girls that we talked about in this article that was sold a bed of lies.
And it just hurts my heart. Initially, my stance was like, let women, some women, that's really what they want in their lives. I'm gonna, I am more of a choice feminist in that way. I'm like, that's what they want. I want them to be able to have.
She has been lied to, and hopefully she wakes up soon. But when she's 40 and she can't have kids anymore, she's gonna wake up, and there is no turning back. And there's nothing more insidious that we can do to our women and to our boys who need to step up into true masculine leadership for these girls, to show them, to love them, to open their hearts, because their hearts have been cold. They've been frozen. They've been closed. They've been darkened. Both our boys and our girls, they need something different. That is on you listening to this. The odds are not stacked in your favor. We talked about the statistics already that, the majority of people are unhappy in their marriages, and 41% of first marriages end in divorce. Yes, the odds are not stacked in your favor if you adhere to the broken model of marriage, the desanctified, the profaned version of marriage. But if you come into it knowing that marriage is a sacred union, that together you create something far bigger than either of you ever could alone, there's nothing that can stop you. If you stop holding your weapons and your shields against each other and saying, you give this to me and I'll give this to you, and you just get on the same side, shoulder to shoulder, there's nothing that can stop you. Nothing. Do we want to do one more? Let's do one more. Do one more here. I gotta hear this. Ready?
Shitting on marriage? I am not shitting on anyone who has figured out how to make that thing work for them. Again, everything's not for everybody. Monogamy's for you. It's not for me. I realize this. I know this now, and it's like a weight lifted off my shoulder. I realized I spent so much time lying and trying to be somebody that I wasn't for the sake of somebody else. Complete and utter time wasted when I could have just been exactly who I am, said exactly what I want, exactly how I'm rocking, exactly how I'm not, and then waited for those people.
So you're saying it's not for you because, well, you don't know how to make any commitments. You're saying it's not for you because, well, you just like impulsive desire. You like whatever tasty treat, whatever delicious peach and snack you want anytime that you want it. And there is nothing within you who has the capability of committing to one person for the rest of your life. And because of that, you will never, ever, ever know the potential and the power and the depth that is a sacred union and a marriage. And guys, you can't fall into this trap because sometimes I have people come through this and talk about, yeah, my wife and I, we're not having sex, and we explored the path of like, well, maybe I find another partner that I can have sex with, and this doesn't work, guys. This does not work. There is a wound that's created when that happens that you will not be able to heal within your intimate partner. It does not work. And here's another thing that I want you to think about. If you can't, and I'm not calling women horses, but if you can't ride one horse well, if you can't take care of one, what makes you think you're going to be able to ride two or three or four or five constructively? It's not going to happen. It's going to fall apart. Anyway, guys, that's it for today. I'm going to bring this thing to an end. Please drop in the comments. Let me know everything that comes up for you about this. Tell me where I'm right. Tell me where I'm wrong, please, for the love of God. And hit me with your number one question. What question do you want to explore next time we come together here? This is Rob signing out on Uncommon, the Dad Work Podcast. I'm so happy to have had you here today, and have an uncommon day. Peace.